So this is for the Yeswelder DP200. Maybe it applies to more than one model. This is October of 25. These are the files. When you get that firmware file, it's going to be a zip. You need to open that or extract it. Go into the folder that it contains. Copy these files to your thumb drive or your SD card. So I started with a thumb drive update. There's a port in the side of the welder inside the cover. That firmware started and then failed for some reason. Contacted Yes Support, and they were able to get me information that there's a hidden SD card slot inside the unit. So put the same files on that SD card. To get to the SD card, I had to pull the covers off of the welder. That was not hard. It's all Phillips screws. To get the handle off the top, which also holds on to the top cover, you have to pry this plastic piece up. Just get a screwdriver, insert it in the crack there on each end, pry up or twist on it, and this is just friction fit. Will come off, and there's your Phillips screws down inside. That will come off. The display cover, front cover, the display is bolted to the back of this, and it's 5 screws. They're on the back side of this display in each corner, all 4 corners, and then one down in the center. It's on the back side, but it's in the center. Pull those 4 screws and you can remove the whole front cover. You could probably try to do this with it on, and it's just going to be limited space. I just found it much easier to do this pulling the covers off. Don't pull on this whole assembly, because these cables are very short and you'll pull those connectors loose and you could damage them. Just leave it as is. It'll kind of perch up on this ledge, and just make sure it's not touching any metal. So once you get to this point, unit's powered off. You're going to put your SD card into this slot, and you're going to find out right away there's a problem. They put this second card, you can see this bolt right here, and there's one right here. There's another card here, and it blocks the SD slot. There's your SD card slot. If I line up straight with it, that kind of blocks it. So if you loosen this screw here and this screw here, you don't have to take them all the way off. There is a nut on the back. I can make it just enough of a gap. I can put the SD card in the slot. So I'm going to put this SD card in. I'm going to insert it far enough that it locks into place. There should be spring loaded. And then power the unit on. It should read the card, load firmware. It takes about a minute or so. And then you should see a Yes or a Firstess logo here. In my case, that got me out of the blue screen, but it didn't finish the firmware update. So I had to finish by inserting my original flash drive into the port that's provided inside the unit. That port's a USB-C, which is great for future-proof. The problem is we're limited to 32 gig. I think the system doesn't like drives bigger than that. So I'm using my older 8 gig drive with an adapter. I don't know if that was the problem or not, but so after doing this SD card update, this drive loaded correctly, loaded a blue screen with a bunch of writing, and got to a point that said remove. It said an error, couldn't finish or something like that, but it said remove the drive. So I removed it, shut it down, rebooted. Well, now I had the logo, but still nothing, and thought, okay, now I bet this will complete. So I put that back in, powered it up. It did a different screen, and this time it finished. I was able to take the drive out, reboot, and now the unit powers up. I get this logo, which was the first thing I got when I did the first update with the SD card, but it didn't go past it. And now I'm back in the main menu and everything's functional. So it seems like the unit's working great. I think what it is with these devices, you have to update the display itself which has the SD card reader, and then that handles the input for the drives. Then it has to update some other circuitry here, and I think that's where the problem was. It wasn't doing one of those correctly before. So it's great they have a kind of a backdoor way to update these. So now I've just got to shut it down and reverse course and put all the screws back in, the panel on and everything. Make sure also these knobs, you need a flat blade screwdriver to, kind of hard to see there. These knobs have a little hole in there, so rotate them around, and a tiny flat blade so you can get that cover off of these, the panel loose from that. So remember, there's 5 silver screws on the back will pull this panel off of the back of that front cover, and everything works now, and hopefully this helps you along the way. Thanks.